Ladies and gentlemen, Snapshot 22w14a is here with the new Mangrove Trees and the Mangrove Swamps, a recovery compass item, and a very long list of bug fixes. My name is Sly Slime and I'm here to take you through all these changes. Let's start with blocks and items. The clay renewability mechanism showcased at Minecraft Live is now available in the game. Placing mud above a block that has pointed dripstone underneath will convert that mud block into clay over time as the water drips out. There's now a new item called an Echo Shard that you can find as loot in ancient cities. Taking 8 of these shards and combining them with a compass will craft a recovery compass. This new type of compass points directly at your last point of death. If you're in the wrong dimension, the compass is not in a player's hand, or if you've never died, it will spin randomly. Dead bushes can now be placed on mud. In Mangrove, propagules now grow into mangrove trees instead of oaks. These trees are made out of root systems of mangrove root leading up to a forking trunk and mangrove leaves. They also have a chance of spawning with a bee nest. These trees are also found naturally in the world in a new biome called the Mangrove Swamp. This biome can be found in places where the game would previously place swamps and where the climate is warm and humid. Compared to the regular swamps, they have a different foliage color and water color, and of course the vegetation is different, dominated by the dense mangrove trees. The ground is covered in mud. The only passive mobs that spawn randomly here are frogs, and contrary to regular swamps, you will never find a witch hut in a mangrove swamp. In some other aspects it works just like a normal swamp, including the water fog being closer than in other places and slimes spawning here during the night. This version also fixes the problem where loading structures containing allays would crash, which means that the structures where you can find allays can now be visited. They consist of a new type of cage at pillager outposts and a new prison room inside woodland mansions. There are also a fair few fixes for problems with the new ancient cities in this version. Lava could sometimes generate in ancient cities and set fire to the wool there, or make structures float in the air. Some types of blocks that require support could also end up floating in the air. The trapdoor of the icebox room was open by default, making the pressure plate outside pointless. One of the lamps near the city center was missing its skulk sensor and so could never light up, and one of the pieces of the streets could never generate, all of which have been fixed in this version. Eating the golden carrot found in the chest near the center will now properly activate the redstone door. The loot for the loot chests around has also changed. You now get an extra roll of loot for every chest, and one possible loot option is now to find between 1 and 3 Echo Shards. Relatively to other loot, strong regen potions, randomly enchanted books, unenchanted books, bones, soul torches and coal have all been made slightly more common. New advancements in this version. You Got a Friend in Me has been added for having an allay deliver items to you. And Birthday Song has been added for having an allay deliver a cake at a note block. The Adventuring Time advancement now also requires visiting mangrove swamps. Before we move into mob news in this version, please have your nearest allay deliver a click to the like button. Every single like for the video makes YouTube more likely to recommend it to others, so I really do appreciate your help. Thank you! In mob news, there's a huge list of warden fixes. The warden will now get angry at all mobs that get too close to it, not just players. Some bugs have also been fixed where wardens would get stuck doing nothing but roaring if it was being attacked by multiple enemies or if its target was invulnerable. After killing a mob, the warden would keep sniffing for that mob, which is fixed in this version. They no longer despawn if they are far away. Wardens will no longer spawn in water, they can now pathfind through lava, and their behavior in columns of water or lava is now more reasonable. And some bugs where their behavior would break if the world was reloaded have been fixed. When the warden was placed on a team with a player, they would still attack that player, which is now fixed, and they will now forget a target player if that player switches into creative mode. The hitbox of a warden now adjusts while it is emerging and digging, and they can no longer be pushed around until they've fully emerged. When in peaceful mode, you could see the hitbox of the warden appear for a fraction of a second if you had the hitbox's debug mode on. That is also fixed in this version. And when a warden is spawned using a spawn egg or a spawner, it will no longer be invisible for a split second. One single other mob bug fix in this version: if a frog eats a named mob, that is now logged to the game's log file, just like with other causes of death. In gameplay news, some fixes to the new skulk blocks. Activated skulk shriekers now summon the warden even if the block is broken or if you run away. Skulk Shriekers now also properly react when the player is riding some entity. Skulk Catalysts and Veins can now be obtained using any kind of tool as long as the tool has Silk Touch. And Skulk Sensor Wool Occlusion had a directional bias, which is fixed in this version. For Creative Mode, a few items have been shuffled around in the creative inventory, with Skulk Shriekers now grouped with the rest of the Skulk blocks and the Warden spawn eggs sorted alphabetically with the other spawn eggs. Visual changes in this version. The shadow of the Warden is now the appropriate size. Wardens now appear inside a Warden spawner, and the Warden could also create particles of special blocks like barrier blocks and light blocks when digging, which is now fixed. The wings of allays are now properly attached to the bodies, and a number of Z-fighting issues have been sorted out with the allay model. In sound news, there is a new sound for the Warden digging, which would previously reuse its emerging sound. Wardens being hit no longer plays the angering sound over the top of the hurt sound. And some of their sounds now properly obey the correct sound setting slider and the is silent data field. Some Warden sounds that would play despite the world being in peaceful mode have been fixed, and in addition to that, 2 new subtitles have been introduced for Skulk Catalyst Blooming and Skulk Shriekers Shrieking, and some grammar problems have been fixed in some other subtitles. Instability news, the problem in the previous snapshot that would make the server crash whenever a structure with an allay was loaded has been fixed in this version. That's all for this time. Thank you very much for staying with me to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. If you want even more news for the Wild update, I've got another video for you right here with more things that have already been added in previous snapshots, so go check that out.